What's up, YouTube? Happy Wednesday night. CHF here, bringing you episode 3 of Defense 101, where today we are talking about zone coverage. So we started going over formations, then went over some of the basics of man coverage, and today we're going to talk about zone coverage. So guys, the way this is going to work, I'm first just going to start out by kind of going over some annotation because it's a little bit different. But essentially what you'll see is you've got 4 different types of zones. So if we start here, 9 Velcro, okay? So you've got 4 guys dropping into deep blue zones. That's called cover 4. Similarly, if we were to look here, we've got 2 deep blue zones, that's called cover 2. And then if we go down here to this one where we've got 3 deep blue zones, that's cover 3. So when you hear me talking about cover 2, cover 3, or cover 4, that's what I'm talking about. Now, what those deep zones mean is that whoever is assigned to those, whether it's a safety or a cornerback, they're basically going to backpedal and guard the field about 20 yards back from the line of scrimmage. Now, when you look here at 9 Velcro, we also have 3 other colors. So we have these yellow zones, which in 9 Velcro you have the left side of the field defensive end, technically your right end dropping into a yellow zone, and both of your linebackers dropping into a yellow zone. Their job is basically just to cover the middle of the field. And then you have your left defensive end, or the guy on the right, and your nickelback dropping into that turquoise or light blue zone, which is the flat zone or the shallow zone. Then if we look here to 3-4 drop zone, you'll see that it adds in the purple zones. And the purple zones are basically a medium zone covering the sideline. Okay, so here's how it will look if we go into the suggested play. They are going to suggest for this particular play 4-3 cover 4. So what you have there is you've got your 4 defensive linemen rushing, your safeties and your corners dropping into cover 4, your middle linebacker kind of guarding the middle of the field, and then your 2 outside linebackers dropping into that sideline medium zone. So what you'll notice when we look through all of these zone coverage plays, and the way to beat zone is to throw where nobody is guarding. So in man coverage, you have to worry about a defender following your receiver. Against zone coverage, you really don't have to worry about that. They're only going to trace them and follow them around while they are in that particular zone. So as we go through here, guys, you'll see, and a good way to recognize zone 1, we talked about it yesterday, man coverage, the guy guarding usually takes a little bit of a step. In zone coverage, they don't do that. And they also don't tend to just take off backwards. They usually will backpedal or run to a specific point in the field. So we are going to run 9 Velcro. And what I want you to notice is, let's take a look. Right when it snaps, we're going to see the corners and the safeties are going to drop into these deep zones. What I want you to focus on is I want you to focus on the nickelback and on the defensive end that's on the right side of the field. And that's going to give you a good idea of whether the flat is covered. The flat is a great dump-off place if it's not covered. If there's nobody in those flat zones, you can dump it off to the flat and it'll be money. So here we go. He goes out there to guard the flats. The flats are covered, and they throw the incompletion. So that's one way to watch for zones. So let's go ahead and look at some other zone coverages. Let's see if they give a recommended one. So this one, they're looking at a here's more just zone coverage. This 3-4 under cover 2 sink is a basically cover 2 deep zone, and then heavily guarded the middle of the field. Flats are going to be open, potentially out routes if you hit them towards the sideline. But what you will notice is it is very, very rare, if at all, that you will see both purple zones and blue zones. In fact, let me see if there's any. Okay, so there is one. This would be one of the hardest, this 3-4 under cover 2, because it's covering both flat zones and both sideline medium zones. However, since it's cover 2, and there's only 3 guys rushing on this particular play, they're going to have all day to throw, because you've only got 3 guys trying to get past 5 guys. So what you will have here, the best way to exploit a cover 2 is usually to throw between the safeties. But let's go ahead and run this one, and you'll see The inside linebackers are going to guard the middle of the field. The outside linebackers are going to go to the deeper zones. The corners are going to step forward and guard the flats. And then the safeties are going to drop back into cover 2 zone. Well, they're going to run the ball, actually. So never mind that. But we'll run that one again until they pass against it here, guys. But the way that you want to recognize coverage, so what you'll see, let's run this 4-3 cover 4. All right, so what we're going to see is the flats are going to be open if they run or if they pass, which they're not passing. Unfortunately, that's the downside of doing this with my format, the live format. So we're just going to keep running it until they decide that they will pass on us. All right, so here we go. See, the flat is open. He should not have thrown that. He had somebody in the, now granted he caught it, but he threw it into triple coverage or heck, like quintuple coverage. But the flat was wide open. So the way you recognize the zones is you know where the guys can potentially go. Okay, they're going to go into one of these zones. So I always start when I'm looking at zone is I read the safeties first to see whether I see one guy dropping back, which would be like something like that, like a cover 1, 2 guys dropping back, 3 guys dropping back, or 4 guys dropping back. That will give me an idea of whether the deep ball is an option. If I'm going up against a cover 3 or cover 4, I usually am not going to throw the deep ball. There's just too many guys guarding the backside of the field for it to be a safe throw. However, if we run something like this, where the flat zones are not covered, if I had somebody, look at that, there is nobody in the flat on either side. If you had a curl route, if you had a drag route, if you had any type of route at all that puts you in that position where there is no coverage, you're going to be able to shred zone. I personally prefer to throw against zone coverage because zone coverage usually has a hole somewhere. So if we look through here, 9 Velcro, you've got no purple zones. So what that would mean is that you guys can go with a deeper out route or a corner route where you throw it before they hit that cover 4 safety distance. Same thing here. It's a little bit riskier because you've got those side yellow zones. But if you hit an out route to the like right by the sideline, you should be golden against something that doesn't have these purple routes. Against 4-3 cover 4, your flat routes, the flats are going to be wide open. So when you go through here, you'll notice that there's usually going to be some kind of hole, whether you're missing purple zones, whether you're missing light blue zones, or if you only have 1 or 2 dark blue zones, where you can usually go between those safeties. So that's kind of the high level overall. We'll keep playing a few more, and we'll just see kind of where they would go to. So here we'll go 3-4 drop zone. So the flats are going to be open. And against the computer especially, I don't mind giving them the flat. It's just, it's going to be a small short yardage completion. Now, in LVL or head-to-head, there is nothing wrong with taking a short throw. I mean, if it's a safe short throw, that helps you manage down and distance. So here we'll look at a cover 3, and you'll see that the two safeties, the safety and the 2 corners drop back into the cover 3. So we'll just run a few more of these plays. I'll have to punt, return it, and kick it right back to them. But that's the way you beat zone, guys. So where man, you're looking for separation through some kind of movement, you don't necessarily need movement to beat zone. You just have to throw it where nobody is guarding it. So if you say ran, let me just punt this back real quick, and we will do a couple more here. So if you say ran Hail Mary, right, where everybody just goes on a streak route, if you were playing against that 9 Velcro cover 4, okay, where they cover the flats, but there's nobody covering the middle of the field, and I don't know if that is actually even a valid coverage against it. But if you were to run this 9 Velcro, what you would be able to do is hit those side wide receivers quickly before they can, but basically while they're in that zone where the purple would be. The middle of the field's pretty clogged up there, but say you have a play like, this 4-3 under cover 4. Okay, so you've got your flats, so the flats will be open, but you'll notice that there are also some spots where you can hit them kind of underneath. So what you want to do is if you've got a deep zone, you want to throw while your guy is in front of the safety. Now, if there's a middle zone as well, you may have to throw over him with a semi-lob. I personally like to, when I'm throwing against zone, when possible, I try to avoid even having to throw over somebody or under someone, because there's usually just a wide open spot somewhere on the field. So as long as you use an offensive play that's going to have a bunch of diverse routes where someone is going to get open, what I like to do against zone as well is to call safe plays that, say, have a guy going into the flat and a guy going into like a medium corner or a medium out route. Because if you have that, it's very rare. You'll see, I mean, there are just not very many plays where both a purple zone and a light blue zone are up. Really, it looks like 3-4 under cover 2 is pretty much, or that one, and then 3-4 cover 2. So cover 2 is really going to be the only chance that they have to cover both the purple zone and the light blue zone. So if you identify that it's zone coverage and you see that it is anything other than cover 2, one of those is going to be wide open. Like, throw the ball to him with nobody near him to catch it. So that's what you want to do to beat zone coverage, guys, is you want to throw where there is nobody covering, because since they're not in charge of guarding a person and they're only in charge of guarding, see, he had his guy there in the flat wide open. The computer didn't take that throw, but that is always going to be open if we do this 3-4 drop zone. So here we go again. I'm not rushing a lot because I want you to see them dropping in, but look at the sidelines, guys. Those short sidelines, and he actually took it there. Now, the guys will converge once the ball is in the air, but that's the way to beat zone, fellas, is to look for the zone that is not covered and throw there. So the way that I like to do that, and we will talk about this when we get into the offensive side, which is going to be Defense 201 and will be next week's series, where we'll actually go into looking at beating man and zone and different plays to use to beat them. But that's the general idea and the general approach to beating zone coverage, is identify first. I start by looking at the safeties. If it's cover 2, I like to exploit cover 2. So something towards the middle of the field. Post routes are phenomenal against cover 2. If it is cover 3 or cover 4, one of the sidelines will be open either at the medium level or the short level. So if when you're going through the playbook, if you choose plays that are going to have somebody going into a medium, like medium outside route and a shallow outside route, as long as it's not cover 2, you're guaranteed one of those guys is going to be wide open. There are simply not enough ways to cover those zones if they are in anything other than cover 2. So if you see 3 guys dropping back or 4 guys dropping back, but if you see at least 3 guys dropping back, you will either have a flat zone or a medium sideline zone wide open. Wide open. Nobody there. And as if you've been watching my channel for some time, whenever a guy is wide open, that's who I throw to. Even if it's a short yardage, unless it's something like 4th down or something like that. But that is the way to read and beat zone coverage. So thank you so much, guys. I know the series is a little different. We are going, and this is still pretty basic. We are going to get into the more advanced stuff next week. So if you like what I'm doing here, hit that thumbs up button. If you are new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hang out with me for a week or two. I promise, if you implement the plays and strategies and things that I teach you, your score is going to go up unless you're, another top player who's already doing all of these things. And if you want to see what I drop, when I drop it, hit that bell icon to join the notification squad. Thank you so much. You guys are the best audience ever. I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. CHF out.